The training continues on today's episode of the Producer Podcast as I'm joined by filmmaker Donald Leow. Donald has produced numerous films over his 40 years in the industry, including several shot overseas in places like Mongolia and Vietnam. So sit back and relax as I delve into what he's learned shooting projects overseas, as well as how he goes about using those films to train future filmmakers. Thank you very much, Donald, for taking the time to come on the show today.
Oh, you're welcome. And just as a caution, me being a Singaporean, when I get excited, I speak really fast. And when I
Okay.
speak fast, I may switch to my Singaporean English, which is called Singlish. And you might go like, what did he just say? So stop me.
All right, I will. Probably the best place to start is just kind of share a little bit about how you got started making films and working as a producer in the industry.
Oh, wow. Okay, that has to go back to the year roughly 1974, long before a lot of you are born. Uh, I went to a Southern Baptist church, and they started a mission in Singapore. I'm a Singaporean, and they started a media ministry whereby, in those days, nobody has film. Singapore was still a poor country, and they started a film ministry whereby they have 16 millimeter projectors. All right.
Mhm.
For those of you that are listening, do not know what it is, go Google it, 16 millimeter projectors. And each projector weighs about maybe 25 pounds or so, 25, 30 pounds. And then there's the film, 16 millimeter films. And so they started a ministry where they brought in films, and all the films are from America, obviously, all right? The Christian producers are from America, but they needed volunteers to go around the churches. The mission do not just service Baptist churches; they service all churches, even Catholic churches. I even had the opportunity to go to a Jewish synagogue to show a movie. So they asked for volunteer, and I had nothing to do on a weekend. And my mom was tickled to death that I would go and do something like that. So I stay out of trouble. I come from a family of five. If if anything broke in the family, mom always scream my name. All right, even though if it's not me. So that's my background. And I was tickled to death. And when I was showing those movies, usually to youth groups, right? Youth groups. And in Singapore, because we are poor, going to movies is a big deal. So when the church says, oh, they have a movie night, a lot of people come. A lot of Christian young people will invite their non-believing friends to come for a movie. People don't even have television sometimes, or the televisions are black and white.
Hmm.
So so I saw firsthand when I was showing the movies how people respond to movies. Although these are American movies, so white faces, yellow people, cross-culturally, there's a lot of differences, but people still respond and react to the movie. So it impacted my life. Yeah, and I said, without in my mind, this is what I want to be involved in, right? And then when I came out of high school, the Southern Baptist started a store, which is called Baptist Media, Great Joy Media Center. They call it Great Joy. They intentionally didn't want to put the name Baptist so that it serviced everyone.
Hmm.
And they invited me to go and work. And so I went there to work for 2 years, had a blast, and then subsequently went to the military because all of us has to go to the military, and then came out and they invited me back. So I worked for them, and in that process, I started developing a video library. Videos started coming out in the 80s, and they sent me for training. And by the time I left them, I've developed a library of about 4,000 videos. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And we have tons of people come to uh, our store to borrow videos. So we were moving away from the actual 16 films into video in the 80s. And so I film everything, mostly talking heads, we call them, right? Sermons and preaching, and in those days, in the early 80s, talking heads are big, made famous by James Dobson, and then Chuck Swindoll, and everyone was making films that are talking heads, and then we have a lot of speakers, and subsequently also we did short films and all that. Yeah, so that's my history behind how I got involved into filmmaking. So it was a gradual process. It wasn't like,
Hmm.
hey, I want to go to film school. Film school does not exist in Singapore, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a University of Hard Knocks, right?
Yes, that is for sure. Then, because I know you've done like a lot of directing and producing, like what was it about that aspect of making movies that kind of attracted you as opposed to the other many other roles that it takes to bring a movie to life?
It's a really good question. So when I was at Great Joy Media Center, I was a one-man show,
Hmm.
right? Like all mission organization. You shoot, you do the sound, you edit, you're one-man producer, all right? I have a few helpers, all right? But they basically are just helping me to carry stuff. So from ground zero up, I learned everything. And I'm
Hmm.
happy as can be to be a cameraman. I love camera work. Then when I left Great Joy Media Center, not knowing what next to do, I got a job offer right away on the 1st of May, which is the next day. I went and joined another mission organization. And that mission organization is called Good News Productions. They do nothing but production. Why I left Good News is because they were moving away from production into kind of more servicing and lending out and selling books and all that. And that's not my thing. I love production. So Good News offered me a job, and so all I did was just production. All right, and that got me more excited because every week that's all I did. And
Hmm.
again, because it's a mission organization, it's pretty much a one-man show, except that Good News has a different philosophy in that, say, Great Joy mostly service Singapore. Anybody else that comes outside of Singapore, it's kind of a bonus. But Good News, we service Asia. So I get to go to the Philippines. I was producing a weekly TV program in the Philippines. I get to train people in the Philippines to produce. We set up a studio in the Philippines, and then we went to China, as the ministry grows. But we produced our first docudrama, which is a pretty high budget docudrama.
Hmm.
It won quite a lot of awards. And then from the docudrama, I produced my first movie called The Source of Love, The Source of Love, and that's available on YouTube. You can watch it. We shot it in Hong Kong. It's got English subtitles, so you have fun watching it. And boy, did I enjoy the production. I was just a producer,
Hmm.
which was much easier. Okay, and then Good News had to close its center in Singapore due to the finances. And in 2008, I was offered a job in the US. And it's a long story. I won't bore you with the detail, but God opened the door and we came here. And my friend said, hey, let's make a movie. And then I'm like, okay, let's make a movie. You know. So I thought he was going to raise the money. You know why I laughed? I didn't know I was supposed to raise the money. I'm like, he's the boss. He's supposed to raise the money. He didn't raise anything. I raised every single dime. And I have never raised a single cent in my life because I work for two mission organizations, but I'm salaried. It's a
Hmm.
job, right? I'm salaried. I love what I do. I had a blast. I've never worked a day in my life. Still don't, because I love what I do. If you love what you do, you never work. You're you have a hobby and you're paid for your hobby. Shh, don't tell people. Okay. So he said, let's do a film. I said, okay. And then I found a script that I love. And then he said, okay, go raise the money. I was like, oh. And but I was shocked. In 3 months, I raised all the money. And
Wow.
bear in mind, I've never raised a single dime in my life. And I reach out to my friends, all of them in Singapore, uh, and they say, okay, we'll support you, and they believe in what I do because I've been doing it for a long time. So I produced the first film, it's called For the Glory. And then the Lord says, the Lord really wants us to go back into full-time ministry. So my wife and I said, we discussed that, and then we go like, okay, we have to quit our job. We have to go back into full-time ministry. Our gifting is media. We'll see what we can do on our own, whether it's in America or in Singapore or moving back to Singapore. God, you decide, all right?
Hmm.
And God basically said, stay in America. So we stayed. So we moved here in 2008. So it's been what, 16 years now? Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. We thought we'd be here for 6 years, but 6 years became 16 years. Uh, and then I wrote to all the friends that supported me in the first film, and I said, hey, we're going to full-time ministry. We don't know what we'll be doing. Probably not making films because it's really expensive. Probably going back to doing mission videos, short stuff for missionaries and helping mission agencies with their needs. And then one very dear friend of mine wrote back and says, and I still remember almost word for word what he said. This is 10 years ago. He wrote, um, why are you giving up on the talent that God has given you? Not many people has that talent. God gave that to you. It's a gift from God. And why are you not using it? That's deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And he's someone I respect a lot. He's an elder of a church. And then I went, okay, God, I would love to make movies. I'll do anything you want me to do. Uh, but it's expensive. So then I remember I left my job 2011 of September. In a matter of less than 2 years, I produced my next film. Yeah. And the question people always ask is, why are you directing?
Hmm.
Well, it's because I'm cheap. I can direct. Why do I want to hire somebody else to direct? If I hire somebody else, I have to pay that person to direct,
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm a missionary. I have to raise every single time, and all my friends sacrifice to give us the money. So I'm very, very, very careful with the money I spent.
Hmm.
Everybody that works with me knows. Now, I'm very careful, but I've always paid everyone what I promised. I've never owed anyone 1 cent. Yeah.
Nice.
So those guys that work with me, when I tell them, hey, don't worry, at the end of the film, you'll be paid. I know that some producers pay them weekly and all that. For people who really need the money, usually because now we are moving our production overseas, it's
Hmm.
very troublesome to pay you weekly. So I
Right.
go like, at the end of the film, I'll get you the money, right? Because we send the money from overseas into their account, right?
Hmm.
So everyone that worked for me, believe me, and they get their money. Even the new ones that come in, the ones that work with me vouch for me. You say, don't worry, Donna is good for his word. Yeah. Which is very important. You know,
Yes.
don't ever make promises you cannot keep. It takes a long, long time to build a reputation. Yeah. A reputation of integrity. It takes years and years and years. For me, 40 years, right? I'm 62 now. It takes only one time to just kill that whole reputation you have built. You know,
Yes.
if you fail one person, just one person, all right, that person today with social media, all kinds of lies can go out. I remember in one of my films, I fired somebody. I was so mad with that person because he just decided to come 2 hours late. An actor, everyone was waiting for him. I was so mad when I learned that he was going to be 2 hours late, and I fired him. I said, he already was making his way from out of state to our state. So don't come, you know,
Hmm.
I'll find a replacement. And my live producer was like, his mouth opened out wide. He said, "You can't do this. He has been already established." I said, "I can do it. I'm the director. I'll make it happen." Right? Don't care if he's established. I said, we cannot let this kind of thing happen. But then what happened? We paid him for his time. Although I fired him, I have cost to fire him, I still paid him for his time. Right? Oh boy, you should see the thing he wrote about me. All lies, all lies. And my producer went like, don't respond to him. I'll respond to him, my line producer. Prior to me firing him, everything he wrote about me was I am like an angel. So all in all, as a producer, especially as a producer, because you're dealing with money,
Hmm.
do not make promises you cannot keep. Right? I think anybody that works for you, rather you tell them this is what you can afford. If you want to work with me, this is what I can afford. Rather than make them a promise and at the last week you say, "Oh, I ran out of money." And then guess what? Eh, This is especially in the Christian production circle. It's a very small circle.
Yes.
Everybody knows that this guy don't pay you on the last week.
Yeah, no, that's very true. It's not that big of a world out there.
And the other thing, as a producer, I think for me, especially for me, I like to create a fun set where everybody enjoy themselves.
Hmm.
Uh, because one of the best thing to do is you love to go to work, right? Everybody, and all of us love what we do. That's why we are making films and not making money. I mean, we don't even make any money in making films, but because we love it, right?
Hmm.
And you create an environment whereby it's fun. It's very tiring, you know it, but it's fun. Everybody looks forward to working with you. Everybody looks forward to coming on set. You know, don't have an attitude. Don't have I'm the producer, especially young people. You know, you come out and you're making your first film and you go like, all right, I'm the CEO, I'm in charge. No, come on. You cannot make a film without the rest of them.
No.
You're just one of the puzzle, you know, right? Don't think too highly of yourself.
Yes, that's for sure. I wanted to kind of focus a lot on the films you've done overseas because I haven't had a lot of producers on that have done projects outside of the US. And I think maybe a fun place to start would be like, what are some of maybe the different or unique challenges that you face making a film in another country versus like in the US?
Uh, all right. Maybe before that, I'll just mention why I'm producing overseas. Right?
Okay.
That may be helpful. Because firstly, because I'm a missionary,
Hmm.
right? And I made three films here, feature films here. I made a lot of other stuff, but three feature here, and that established a footprint for me to be able to be recognized as a legitimate producer rather than one that is from Singapore. And
Hmm.
I'm an American producer. And my wife and I, our passion is always to train the next generation of filmmaker. America does not need any training from us, right? Although we do some, but most of the time we go internationally and we are there for 1 week, 2 week, and we teach people how to make short films, right? So we've been doing that for many, many years. So then after we've done the films in America, we decided maybe we should move out and see if we could do films internationally with still an American flavor. All right. Yeah, because people in America want to watch movies and if you make a movie in Mongolia that's all about Mongolians, only Mongolians are going to watch. So
Hmm.
you got to make a movie that kind of the center is still happens based on an American story to make it marketable, right?
Right.
Marketing in the Christian circle is a very bad word, but if you don't market it, if it's not sellable, that means nobody's watching it, right?
Yes.
So it comes together, right? So, so yes, what are the challenges? Whoa, yeah. Making films in America is really easy. Making films in America is more expensive. That's a given,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really easy. The talent pool is here. You know, you throw a dime in church, you can hit an actor. Right? So it's easy. Everybody wants to act, everybody wants to sing, everybody wants to be involved. There's no much restriction in terms of licensing and all those crazy stuff. But when you go overseas, I'm not talking about Europe, right? I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
Asia, and I've never done anything in Africa. I've never done anything in South America, but I can speak for Asia. First and foremost, you need a license from the government to shoot. And that is crazy. Okay. Dealing with uh, the government and like the last film I did, which is still in post-production, it's in Vietnam. Okay,
Okay.
Vietnam is a communist country.
Mm-hmm.
I'm producing a faith-based film. It's like North and South Pole, you know?
Yes.
Right. Well, they like my story. Well, they like what I do. Uh, you know, so it's
Mm-hmm.
always a worry when you submit the script. Right? Sometimes you think about maybe I'll submit A script and I'll shoot B script. But we didn't do that. We didn't do that. We submitted our script and it got approved, you know. It
Nice.
costs money, so be very wary about that. It costs money to submit a script, and depending on the country and how much the government and its subsidiary want from you, you know what I mean? You know, the money under the table, it can go up, right? We don't
Mm-hmm.
deal with under table money.
Okay.
We do not deal with it. We always hire somebody that take cares of everything for us. And he will give me a budget, and then I go, okay, don't tell me what you do with it. I do not want to know, right? Just get me the license. So number one is always the license. Now, pre-production is really important when you're doing
Mm-hmm.
um, international work. Um, when you're doing anything locally, you kind of know the cost, right? You Google, okay, you want to stay in Hampton Inn, how much it costs in that area, how much food is anywhere, you kind of, but every country internationally is different based on the economics of the country. So you must have a local producer, all right? And boy, is that local producer important. He's kind of your handler, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you set a budget, normally, we do it like a year ahead, right?
Mm-hmm.
We go do our scouting and everything. Cost changes over a year. Imagine you did your scouting pre-pandemic and you do your production post-pandemic. Jeez, you would
Wow.
have blown the budget by 30% probably, right? So so be very aware of costs. Build a contingency in your costs. I always build contingency. Airfare changes, right? And be very aware that if you want to shoot in summer, US summer,
Mm-hmm.
if you go to South America, it'll be winter time, right? But if you want to shoot in US summer, airfare is the highest.
Yeah.
If you want to shoot in January, in the winter time, airfare is the highest in January. So you have to make all this preparation. You can't go like, okay, airfare, you're doing research in the in September. September airfare is always the lowest.
Mm-hmm.
Right after summer, airfare just drops. And then you base your airfare on September, and then you go shoot next year in the summer. You will realize your airfare probably increased by 60, 70%, plus your crew member, right?
Right.
Hotel costs. When do you shoot matters. Now, of course, hiring local people is important
Mm-hmm.
for crew member because the local will help you maneuver around. Uh, you cannot just bring a team of just Americans and go on then just start to shoot. Now, for us, of course, we do training.
Mm-hmm.
So our principal crew member are all professionals. right, from America, and then we hire our local crew member and put them with the Americans, and they're all Christians
Hmm.
to train them. So for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, these people eat and breathe the department, right? So hair and makeup, they have a they have the head of department, which is American, and then from that what I brought, and then there's a team of local that will work with them to learn from them the art, right? So every department is the same. Yeah. Now, when I film in America, I don't necessarily have only Christians. I go for the best I can afford,
Right.
right? But for international film, because I'm doing it as a mission and as a training opportunity, they have to be Christians and they have to be vetted by the local uh, producer.
Makes sense. Um, so I want to jump back since you brought up like air travel and that. What are some things like as a producer, let's say some of the crew you're flying to a different country has never traveled outside of the US before. What are some things that you could help do to make sure their travel goes smoothly?
This is where my wife is really good at,
Okay.
right? So when we do any scouting, right, she will film the whole journey. How you clear immigration. Now, of course, immigration you can't film, but
Right.
she'll take a few pictures really quickly, all right? And then so we don't have to tell you how you leave Atlanta. That's your business, all right? You can, but so we will tell you because every country, we will try to buy the ticket where the transit country, if there's a transit, is the
Hmm.
same. All right.
Okay.
If not, then we'll have to Google and find out how you do transit. So we will do the whole journey for you. We'll document the whole journey for you and tell you how you move from place to place to place. All right. We will do all the research on your visa requirement. Uh, we will uh, and then of course our local producer will always be at the airport to meet our international people who flies in. Even those some of those that are so-called seasoned flyers, they they've only been to what, Europe, easy to get to. Wait till you go to Mongolia and Vietnam. It's two different country, you know, and so those we will document and send them information. My wife is really good at that. So that's how you do it. All right.
Okay.
Uh, we'll tell them, we'll tell all our people, don't worry about money exchange. When you land, you get your per diem. We give them the whole time, all the per diem at one go.
Hmm.
Uh, I remember when we landed in Mongolia when we were doing the film, handed them the per diem and they go, "Whoa, it's a lot of money." Well, that's because $1 is worth 2,400.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
and then when we went to Vietnam, their mouth opened even wider. That's because $1 is worth 24,000. You know, so we make sure we take care of everyone in that respect, making sure that
Hmm.
they don't have need. I said, don't worry about money. We even tell them how to dress, because dressing appropriately is very important in different cultures,
Hmm.
right? Especially in Asian culture where people are more uh well, they don't dress shorts, all right? So
Right.
we tell all the girls, do not bring shorts, do not wear sleeveless shirt, because it's not appropriate. So those are things you have to tell them, especially because we are Christian. Remember, we're not just there to teach them how to make a movie.
Hmm.
We're all older than them also. These are young people. We have to set an example of how we respect the culture and what is appropriate and what is not appropriate.
No, that's a good point. I never thought of like how you dress being a factor when you go to other countries.
Oh yes, yeah. That's why I'm really popular when it comes to anything international
Hmm.
because I've been doing this a long time, so all my friends who are producing will say, "Hey, Donald, can you help me? Or can you give me advice?" Yeah.
Yeah, no, makes sense. With the whole aspect that you do with these films where you're like training the locals as well as making a movie, like I'm just curious, like how do you balance make being able to train them with still actually getting the movie done? Because movies are hard enough to make when you're not trying to train people, let alone when you're adding that on top.
Well, we seems to get it done. Most of the people that I train, they are not like they do not know anything. All right.
Okay.
Because most of the time I would have gone to that country, did a bit of training,
Hmm.
and then the people on the ground, when they know that we are doing a film and they're hiring people to come on set for us to be trained, there would be an expectation of their knowledge. And very important, comprehension of English,
Hmm.
right? Because everything is done in English. If they don't understand English, it's we're dead in the water, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my first AD, Rick Gansai, who's also my co-producer, he's really good at scheduling.
Hmm.
I have never shot a single film where I went overtime.
Nice.
Yeah. I have shot my first film, I had to call for grace for at lunchtime, but I didn't go overtime.
Hmm.
Stayed within the 12 hours. Always finish earlier than the 12 hours. Because I think as a director, I know exactly what I want. And if I get it, I get it. I won't shoot it again. I'll move on. You
Right.
know, actors get tired. You go like, no, let's do this one more time, one more time. They get tired. You know, I think experienced director realize that if they work with good actors, the first or second take is usually the best takes.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So just just move on.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Like, were the locals you hiring, did they need to know English or were you working through translators at all on that?
Some we will always have one person in each department whose comprehension of English is really good.
Hmm.
That's really important. And then the rest, if they don't get it, because we do deal with technical language, right? And
Yeah.
then that person will translate. But after 3 days, it's pretty much repetition. You go through the same thing every day. The
Yep.
scene is different, but the job is the same. So after 3 days, the first 3 days, it's tough. So we always shoot the easier scene on the first 3 days,
Hmm.
right? And that's where Rick is really good at that. Uh, I think in general, even if you work with professionals, it's always good to shoot the first 3 days, the easier scenes.
Right.
Get everybody to gel together and know how they work together because to start a job with strangers, it's not that easy. Yeah.
No.
So after the third day, they know what they are required. Yeah. The gaffer just have to say, okay, I need a C-stand here. Boom, you'll be here. You know. The first day, C-stand? What's C-stand? You even have to teach them how to, we have two prep days of training them on the sim, how to just get the gear up and going. Right.
Hmm.
Yeah. Visa. Oh yeah, visa requirement is really, really important. I forgot to mention that.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. So a lot of time we go there and we think, oh, let's go there on a tourist visa. Oh wow, no, you got to be careful because you're going there to work.
Hmm.
What if you're caught working on a tourist visa? You'll be in trouble, right? So depending on where you are, in Mongolia, we didn't do a business visa. We did a tourist visa because we were shooting out in the boonies.
Hmm.
Um, we were going to get a license and do everything properly. And we met with a professional actor, and he looked at our script. He go like, "Why do you need license?" I said, "What Mongolia need license?" He said, "Yeah, but you're out in the grassland. Nobody's there. There's no police. Nothing is there. What do you need license?" Oh yeah, that's true. So okay, we don't need license. And the same with visa because we're out in the grasslands, so we didn't
Right.
apply for a visa because when you apply for a business visa, you also open yourself up to questions,
Right.
right? But in Vietnam, we had to because we're shooting in the city. Everywhere we go, there are police or soldiers. Everywhere we go, we even had them on our set to watch over us.
Hmm. That's a good tip to know. Um, so I guess another question I have is like, because you've mentioned you've shot in Mongolia and Vietnam, like how do you go about choosing like where you're gonna film?
A lot of time, actually, every time we do this is because first went to do a training, right? And the
Hmm.
training is always requested by somebody, missionaries we know, who has a heart for filmmaking in their country to teach the local how to make a movie. So for Mongolia, it's the same. For Vietnam, it's the same. So we went there, we trained the people, and then as we are training the people, we will see how serious these people are,
Hmm.
right? And then when we see that they are really serious and they can go the next step, that's when we start thinking and asking the Lord if we should do a film, right? And obviously, it's always like that with when I deal with God, right? When I deal with God, wow, that sounds scary. Or when God deals with me, I always like, hey God, I want to do this movie in this country. If you supply the funds, I'll do it.
Hmm.
If you don't supply the funds, means you don't want me to do it,
Right.
right? So I have a very dear supporter in Singapore, and I always approach him first and see how he thinks. If he shuts the door, then forget about it. All right. If he says, "Yeah, let's do it," then we will seriously go into it. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's how we approach it.
Yeah.
I have several training coming up this year and next year.
Hmm.
Uh, right now in three different countries. So it'll be
Wow.
interesting to see which country the Lord says go make the film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I'm leaning towards one personally.
Hmm.
Yeah. The other thing, that's a practical thing. You need to understand your donors or your investors. It's
Hmm.
very, very important. If I were to say with my present batch of donors slash investors, if I were to say to them, I want to make a film in Ghana, in Africa, I think very few of them will be interested. Very,
Okay.
very, all right. Not, there's nothing wrong. God created us all different.
Hmm.
Each one of us have a passion for certain thing. It's not racism. We have a passion for certain thing, certain country. That's why God chose certain people to go to certain country for mission work, right?
Right.
So, so I know my present batch of donors. So you need to know your investor donors.
Hmm.
When we like to say you scratch where they itch, right? Even your story, the passion they have for certain kind of stories, right? But for me, my donors are more because they are all mission minded. So it's not so much the story, but it's where you're filming and what are you doing with it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I had never heard it said that way. Um,
I told you at the beginning I'm different.
yeah, that's good. I if everybody that came on the show had the same exact same mindset, it'd be a pretty boring show. I wanted to touch a little bit more. I know earlier you talked a little bit about distribution and how, you've found that like even when you're making films overseas, you still have to make them marketable in the US. Um, but like I guess my first thought is like, do you have to market the film differently like here in America than like overseas?
It, it, it's very different. because every country you need to know um, who to approach.
Hmm.
Okay. And I'm not Mongolian. I have zero idea who to approach. I'm not Vietnamese. I have zero idea who to approach. But I think for us, the thing is to, as you are training the people and you get the people excited, they're all dying to watch the movie, right? Then you cast the net out and says, find me a distributor. Right. And then we always do a premiere screening in the
Okay.
country. And my wife and I, we would go there. My wife and I, we always travel together. We will go there, we'll do a premiere screening, then we'll cast the net out and make the offer. And that's where we go. Now today, with the internet, things are a lot easier to distribute. You know.
Hmm.
Um, our faith-based movie is more difficult to distribute in a lot of countries. But when it comes to being streamed online, it's fairly easy. Uh, so easy that you have to be careful that it get pirated. You know, one of my film was even uh, Touched by Grace
Hmm.
without me knowing it was shown on Air China.
Wow.
Air China is, I believe, the largest carrier in China. My friend, her pastor, was traveling on Air China. He was scrolling to the TV screen, and then he saw my movie, and he took a screenshot and sent it to me. I was like, oh. No, I know that one was legal. We were paid, but because a distributor does it, they don't tell you where it goes,
Yep.
right? Yeah. So the movies are everywhere.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Your local producer is really important.
so like does that local producer then kind of take the lead on like trying to distribute the film in that country then?
Yes, they do. And
Okay.
for me, as you know, because I know I'm not going to get a lot of money from Vietnam or Mongolia.
Hmm.
Maybe a few hundred or the lower thousands. So one of the things I do is because I cannot pay the local guys anything. So I'll say that, hey, you do it, you distribute it, whatever income you make, you keep it. So it's like a great deal for him, right?
Right.
Yeah. The harder he works, the more he gets, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's what I did with Mongolia. I might do. I'm not sure about Vietnam yet. We'll see how where it goes. Uh, and if the local guy is able to get the tourism board really excited about our film, then it's a different ballgame. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd also be curious just on the distribution side, when you're marketing it like here in America, do you find it more challenging or do you have to like market it in a different way just because it's like a film taking place in like another country and like as Americans, people maybe can't connect with it as well or
That question is really a really good question. That all comes down to your story.
hmm.
How do you interest Americans? Right? It's really
Right.
important. It's true, right? Should have filmed in Vietnam. Who cares about Vietnam? You know, right? There's so many things out there. But my story is about an American traveling to Mongolia looking for something. Vietnam story is an American young man who is uh, kind of forced by his grandma to go to Vietnam to look for his long lost great uncle, grandma's
Mm.
brother, who was MIA after the war.
Right.
So it has an American flavor to the story, and
Hmm.
then it's an adventure, an American adventure in the country, right? So,
Right.
so it is an American story shot in another country. But to the Mongolians, it's a Mongolian film, you see? To
Uh-huh.
the Vietnamese, it's a Vietnamese film, right? So they don't see the American, they see Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Americans will see America in the film. So that's where the story is really important. To interest American, yeah. I'm from Singapore. Crazy Rich Asian is supposed to be Singapore. I'm not one of those crazy rich Asian. I'm just crazy. Okay. Right. So when you make a movie, if you don't scratch where they each, nobody's going to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy Rich Asian, it's a phenomenon. It's once in a lifetime, once in a long, long lifetime. But to me, I think it's very important if you want to shoot a film overseas. Ask yourself, what makes Americans want to watch a film?
Okay.
Why do you, as an American, want to watch a film? If you want to shoot a film in Greece, oh yeah, Greece is beautiful. You want to do the history, uh, but, but there's a lot of film out there about Greece. What
Mm-hmm.
makes it different, right?
Yes.
One thing I learned about Christians, eh, Christian audiences, Christian audiences love to cry. The more you make them cry, the better your movie.
Oh,
It's weird. I did
interesting.
I did Touch by Grace, and everybody cried in that movie, and they came out. They come up to me and they're crying. And say, that's a really good movie. I love that movie. You made me cry. You know, Christian audiences somehow, if you make them laugh, they don't get too excited about the movie.
Hmm.
That's why comedy doesn't work. Christian comedy doesn't work. You make them think. You make them cry. Uh, Now we for us Stone Table Films, I don't make films for Christians. Okay, you know what I mean? Like some of our friends make films for Christians,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a purpose. And Christian loves that kind of film whereby you're teaching them something about prayer, about fatherhood, about something, right?
Right.
These so-called successful films are made for Christians out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Christians will go watch it. We make evangelistic films, and they are not as popular. I I don't know why, because you know we should be sharing the gospel, right? And we should be spreading the gospel. But that's our heartbeat, because at the end of the day, we are missionaries.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not a crier in movies, so I've never noticed that with myself that affects how much I enjoy a movie or not. But that's an interesting. Now I want to go watch, pay
Yeah.
attention for
Wa-
that
Watch,
more.
watch, watch the audience.
Uh-huh.
Whereas secular movies, people hate crying.
Mm-hmm.
I come to movie, I want to enjoy myself, I want to laugh, I want to forget about the day's work, you know. Yeah. Secular movies, people go in there just to be entertained. Christians don't go, they don't want to be entertained.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be affected
Right.
emotionally.
Definitely be thinking on that for a while.
Mhm.
Um, so I have kind of three kind of closing wrap up questions. The first one, jumping back to kind of the aspect we've talked about where you're helping train people in filmmaking. Um, what would be some advice you would give to maybe other producers, directors out there that are kind of wanting to do the same thing with their films and help train the next generation of filmmakers?
Talk to me. Uh, Identifying the individuals they're very
Hmm.
important. All right. You know, you've come across as filmmakers, every young people that come out from college that does film school, they think they're the best. They think Christian films are terrible. They'll make the next blockbuster. Everyone think like that. You know,
Hmm.
I've always said, don't ever criticize a film until you have done the film. Right? Go
Yes.
into the film. Don't have to be feature. Make a short film that earns you the rights to criticize other people's film, right? Uh, Critics are a dime a dozen. I don't listen to them at all. Right? You like your
Yep.
film. So I think identifying uh, who you want to train is really important. Uh, the demographics of where they are, even the age group, right?
Hmm.
Uh, what type of training do you want them to be doing? Are they going to be TikTok video, feature film, short films, documentaries? What are you training them on? And everybody has different love. Now everybody loves to make movies. So when you say you're doing a training on narrative short films, everybody wants to be involved in that. But if you're doing a training on docudrama, you get a specific group of people. Right.
Right. That's a good thought of like how you set it up to
Yeah,
what
we
are you training?
well, for me, I normally start with docudramas.
Okay.
Right. That's if you go straight in and do narrative short films, it's more difficult. You need a
Hmm.
longer period of time. If I'm given 10 days, okay, I can do a narrative short film training. But normally I'm given 4 or 5 days. So I do a docudrama training, and then subsequently the next time you go in and do a narrative short film, and then you don't have to teach the whole thing all over again. You can jump into
Right.
the part.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah. I've done one docudrama. Those are pretty fun to do.
Mhm.
So then this next question, it's the question of the season. So I'm asking like every guest. I'm curious now with like the internet and social media and all that, like how you go about using that to help promote your projects or the work that you're doing.
I'm terrible at marketing. Okay. I'm good at making, but I'm not good
Hmm.
at selling. That's probably because I'm a missionary. Actually, on the other, I'm actually very good at selling. Once, when I was working for the Southern Baptist Mission, my boss said to me, I can sell ice to Eskimo, and uh, and I can really do that.
Hmm.
And selling your idea to your donor is selling. You know,
Yes.
but I'm not. I don't want to focus my energy on like getting my film, and it takes a lot of energy to promote your film.
Hmm.
So for me, I just get a distributor to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, because it takes a lot of energy to to promote your film, and I want to go on to work on the next project,
Hmm.
and that's what my friends expect me to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so after a short season of release, then it goes on YouTube, and YouTube, surprisingly generates a lot. You'll be surprised how much YouTube can get you. Uh, for the Mongolia film, in 7 months or 8 months, we have 1.3 million views. Yeah,
Nice.
and they are from all over the world. I had a comment from somebody from Syria, and he said, I don't even know why he said that. He said, I'm a Muslim. He started by saying he's a Muslim,
Hmm.
which is nothing, no bearing to anything. But I know why he said that, right? And he says, I'm a Muslim, but I love this film.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then I think a person from Uganda says, we saw this film, and I became a Christian, and my whole family became Christians.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And everyone saw the film, and they just love it, and it's all from YouTube now. It's all over the world. It's all over every online station, uh, website you know of.
Hmm.
So yeah, I just let the distributor take care of it.
Okay. Um, so then I guess maybe a follow-up question to that is like, um, if people are looking for a distributor, like what things should they keep in mind? Just because obviously you want to pick somebody that's, gonna care about your film and not just
Yeah,
shove it to the side.
I think before you make a decision, now of course we assume that your film is liked by the distributor, right?
Right.
That's right. I think the first thing you need to do is talk to other producers.
Okay.
After let's say 3 or 4 distributors care and want your film, talk to producers.
Hmm.
Distributor can like anybody can promise you the world, but it's not a matter of whether they deliver. I don't mind if they cannot deliver. I can understand that. But are they
Hmm.
honest?
Right.
That's very important. And like I say, as a producer, word get around whether you as a producer is honest or not. As a distributor, people, we all know which are the honest distributor and which are not the honest distributor.
Hmm.
Yeah. So the first thing you do is, find out from the Christian circle and we are pretty open to sharing information, confidentially, right?
Yeah.
We're open to sharing information because we want to safeguard everyone. We want to protect. In the secular world, you are competitor, but
Hmm.
in the Christian world, you are co-workers.
Yes, that's for sure. So then my final question for you is what would be some advice you would give to somebody who's just getting started producing films?
Producing film or wanting to produce films.
I would say like they're just getting ready to do like their first project.
So they have all the finances, everything already.
Um, that could be debatable. Um,
You see, that's why I asked
yeah,
producing film or wanting to produce film, right? Yeah.
yeah. Let's maybe go with
That,
wanting to produce
okay.
films.
Right. So a young person who has a script and wants to produce his or her first film, right?
Hmm.
Well, don't ask your grandma if the script story is good. Don't ask your mom or your aunt, Ask, yeah, I I think first and foremost, of course, finance is always the most important thing. Be very, very, very careful about your budgeting,
Hmm.
right? Um, you want to make sure that you get get the budget right.
Yes.
Uh, yeah. And if you don't have experience, hire a really good line producer to help you with that. Um, and over years, I work the budget on my own because I know how it's done.
Hmm.
Uh, and then, you know, don't for me, it's always that, and I said that earlier, don't be too proud. Okay. Don't think you know everything. Be willing to learn from everyone. I I've done, been in this for 40 years. I still go in with that, hey, can you guys help me? You know,
Yeah.
everybody in my film set knows that I listen to them. Yeah. Of course, I always also say that film is not a democracy. Film is a dictatorship. Yeah.
Hmm.
You listen to some advice and then you make the decision. Um, but be willing to listen to advice. Yeah. Because it's a collective effort, uh, a film. Yeah. And always, I mean, the story is everything. Do
Yes.
you have a good story? Um, are you willing to change your story?
Hmm.
You know, if you're not willing, you wrote the story and you want to direct it and you want to produce it, it's not going to work. Get somebody who knows story structure, who knows what makes an audience want to watch a film, critique your story, right, and be willing to change. Uh, yeah. The most difficult part to all producers, and everyone will agree with me, is raising the money.
Hmm.
Making a movie is actually very easy. There's so many experienced people out there that can help you if you have the money,
Yes.
right? Yeah. I always say, even if you know, um, treat people with respect is very important. If you want to make a short film and you don't have the funds, uh, and you're calling for help, make sure you feed them, you house them, feed them, don't just feed them well, reasonably well, house them reasonably well, um, take care of all their expenses, out-of-pocket expenses, every single dime.
Hmm.
They drive or whatever, they turn in the receipt to you, they fly, whatever. Take care of every single cost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's super important. Don't say that, oh, you will get credit in the film. Oh boy, jeez. Yeah. Credit is rolling credit. Nobody reads credit. Only
Mm-mm.
my mom, your mom and your grandma read the credit, and get excited and pause. Right? Credit is wasn't that thing. At least do that for them. Right? And be kind enough to just add a bit of something as a love gift at the end without saying anything,
Hmm.
just as a surprise. That tells volume rather than saying, oh, I don't have enough for you. You know, put that in your budget, a love gift, you know, be it
Yeah.
$100 or $150 or $200, doesn't matter. See, when people get surprised with a gift and they know how hard you worked to raise the money, it's a very nice surprise.
No, that's a good thought. I like that.
It's difficult, you know.
Yes.
It's really difficult to make a movie. It's easy to make a lousy movie. Uh, it's really difficult to make a decent movie upwards, and it requires a lot of effort. Yeah, I think to me, I think for me, it's the most important thing is, are you humble enough, you know, to want to learn?
Hmm.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of young producers that comes in and everything centers around them. They are
Yeah.
at the center of the earth, And no, it's not going to happen like that.
Yeah, that's for sure. No, I think those were some great kind of thoughts and advice to wrap this episode up on. So, thank you very much again, Donald, for coming on the Producer Podcast.
Well, you're welcome. Yeah, I've, like I said, I can talk.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's okay. I enjoy those guests. Like I'd much rather have a talker than somebody that I'm like having to pull the answers out of.
Producers should be able to talk.
You would think so. I've run into a few that aren't the greatest.
How do you sell your idea if you can't talk? You got to be able to sell ice to Eskimo.
Very true. And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Producer Podcast. Want to learn more great insights on the world of producing? Then pick up your copy of The Producer's Life, a practical guide to film producing, available now. Until next time, make sure to subscribe to the Producer Podcast, and thanks for listening.